So now we're ready to join all of our pages together. And the first thing I did was to figure out what order that I wanted to put the pages in. And you can see I've got blue roses sitting here on top. So the order I've selected is blue roses, fairy flowers, fence and flowers, beautiful blooms, and then leafy treetops. So I'm keeping this off to the side so that I can have that to refer to so I won't forget. I also have 4 joining strips. These are cut 1.5 inches wide by 7.5 inches tall. They're kind of angled back just a teeny bit from the edges, and I have 2 pieces of score tape that are held back about 1/8 of an inch from that seam. You might only see 3 sitting over here. I already have 1 put on the first panel. So here we have blue roses, and the next panel is going to be fairy flowers, and there's fairy flowers. So here's our procedure. On the back of this first panel, right here where we have our joining strips have come around the back side, I've already added one of these cardstock joining strips. I lined up the edge right with the edge of the 1/8 inch channel. So it's right on the edge of that. And so then, and to make sure everybody is oriented correctly, what I want to do is put fairy flowers down right on top of that and get that aligned right where it should go. So just going to pull this score tape backing off. Get on camera here. And I'm looking at the edge of the, we'll have to see which is the best way to do this. It may be easier to do it up here in the air. Actually, I think that might work. So, kind of looking at the top edge of just the panel that's closest to me and giving that a pinch there, and then coming down to this end. It's okay if that flapped open there. So now these 2 panels are joined together. Now the purpose of these green tabs is to fold over all of those little layers there so that right here at the top it's nice and neat. So we'll pull the score tape backing off of that, and tuck that one down, and pull the score tape backing off of this one and fold that down, and now we have a really nice neat little place there. Turn the book upside down. Be kind of gentle here, and sorry, I have to work towards myself here. So what's happening here is that that flap is folding over right like that, so that from the top you don't look down and see all those edges of all those tabs that we put on there. So now we have blue flowers attached to fairy flowers, blue roses attached to fairy flowers, and next we'll attach fence and flowers. So first we'll come on this side here and line up a joining strip. Just with the edge of that 1/8 inch join. And then I'm just checking to make sure I have the the bottom facing towards myself, and I do. And then here's Fence and Flowers, and we'll hold this up right here. Get that corner done. And these can flap down there while you're working on this part. Okay. And we'll come back here and fold over our tabs. Carefully pick it up and kind of do this side. We'll burnish those better in a minute. Okay, blue roses, fairy flowers, fence and flowers. Next is beautiful blooms. Add our joining strip. Let's see if I only pull that back part way, if that'll make my life easier here. Beautiful blooms, and I do have the base of the page facing towards me. I'll let these drop that way. Let this drop towards me here. Yeah, it does help to leave half of the score tape backing on there so you're not fighting against it sticking prematurely. So okay. Folding our little tabs down. Clean this up and doing them on this side. Oops. Kind of giving the book some support because it's, you know, the pages aren't heavy like the cover isn't on yet, so, you know, it needs a little additional support. Now it's starting to look like a book. And now finally we have our Leafy Treetops page to go on. Take the strip back halfway like we learned to do last time. Make sure this is facing the way I think it is. and that this is facing the way it should be. And again, we'll let some of these pages fall over gently. One more set of tabs here to do. Okay, so don't need this anymore. So let's see how this is going to work. Once it gets its covers on, now of course you can't see the way the camcorder is into all the panels, but I will definitely show you some pictures of that. I'm pleased with how it's coming out. So we'll be back to talk about covers and get those final things done, and then our book will be completed. Now we're going to add our covers to the Secret Garden Star Book, and I have gathered the materials that I'm going to need here. So first I have 2 pieces of medium weight chipboard, and they are cut 7.5 inches tall by 7 3/4 inches wide. Everything, as you know, in the Star Book is 7.5 inches tall, and this is 7 3/4 inches wide. So I have 2 pieces of chipboard cut like that. And then I want to finish off the edges, and I've already done it on one, so let me show you what I mean. So here the edges have been trimmed with what I call a finishing strip of green cardstock, and that's just going to give a nice background to our paper that we're going to put on the front. I don't want to have to wrap the edges with the pattern paper, so this is what I've decided to do, is wrap the edges with some finishing strips of green cardstock. So the way we accomplish that is with several pieces that are cut 1 1/4 inch wide, and they're scored in the middle at 5/8 of an inch. And I have 2 that are cut at 9.5 inches, and then 2 that are just about 7.5. We're going to trim these 7.5 inch ones off, so it doesn't matter. But these 2, it's helpful if they're about a couple inches longer than the side you're going to work on. And then I also have one of the Perfect Trim rulers, and if you're not familiar with this ruler, it's got some angles and some lines on here, and it helps you trim off the corners depending on the thickness of what your material is. And there's two versions of this. One has, this one that I've got in front of me goes up to materials that are 1/4 of an inch thick. There's one that's for the smaller dimensions. Both of them have the size that I'm going to use with my chipboard, which is 0.0625. It kind of the way you decide which side to use is you hold this up even with the edge of your chipboard, and you see which thickness works with the material that you're using. So depending on what you have, a different dimension may work. Then just for some, I call it insurance, I've got a green marker here. And so what I'm going to do is put the strips on. Now before I do that, I'm going to put on my insurance, which I just take the marker, just in case my corners don't fit nicely. I just come in here and put a line and get the tips of these corners, and then I'll probably put this side with the joins on the inside, but just in case they'll be there. And then I'm just seeing which side it is. So there's going to be another join about here, and if I'm guessing right, and it's just to put a little ink behind those joints. Okay, so let's get started. And on this is the 7 3/4 inch side of the board that I'm going to add the 9 1/2 inch strips to. So I've got them creased. I've got some score tape backing on here. And what I'm going to do is fit this. I'm holding the strip at a right angle, and I'm going to put the chipboard panel in approximately, keeping the same amount showing on the top and bottom, and get that right flush up against there. And flip that over and give that a burnish. Now, here's where the perfect trim ruler comes in. I'm going to use the 0.0625 side, and with this ruler you just shows you where to line it up, and then you can trim the corner off to get a nice neat corner. Now this, I'm not wrapping these corners, they're just coming up nice and neatly. If you don't have this ruler, I would say that the space that it's creating here is about the width of the chipboard away from the corner. So let me do that. Okay. So now I have these two kind of dog ear kinds of things going on the two corners. Now before I stick anything down, I want to train this piece so it's ready to go around the corner. So first I'm taking my bone folder against the edge in a vertical position, and then I just gradually start rotating it over so that eventually I'm pretty flat here. You can also come up here on this edge and do it in this position as well. And now, without preliminary, we have that down, and it's ready and nicely ready to go into position once we're ready to stick it down. So first we want to stick our little dog ears down, and I'm just going to, you could train these as well by just coming on the two edges like this. And wrapping them around. And then remove the score tape from that side. And again, use your bone folder to get that to stay up nice along that edge. And then as you start to turn, you can press it down. And then get a nice flat edge. And if the corners are sticking out, just go after them with your bone folder a little bit. So we're going to repeat that on this other side, and I'll do that and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back and I've completed the other side. And when we're looking at this panel, the finished side is the side where we don't see that 45-degree angle. It's just smooth down there. Whereas the back side, the side that's going to be on the inside of our book, has that 45-degree corner. So now we're going to fill in on the front with our other two pieces, and we start from the finished side here and just line this piece up so that it fits tight against that seam, and then mark to see how long you should cut it. And then my pencil mark is almost so light I can almost not see it there. I can catch it in the light. Cut this straight. It's a little slippery because it has the score tape on it, so go lightly a couple of times. And let's see how we did here. That's just about right. So again, what we'll do is attach it to the finished side, the front side first. So working from the finished side, I have this in this position where the tape backing has been removed from the top piece, and I'm just going to fit it in exactly between those two pieces, and then stick it down, give it a burnish, excuse me, and then we'll wrap this around by, again, training it first. Once we have it nice and trained, we'll remove our score tape backing, and again, using our bone folder, come up on that edge, come around, and then give it a burnish down. So I'll repeat that on this other edge, and then I'll be back. So now I have my corners nicely wrapped, my edges all nicely wrapped, and you may have different ways of doing this. I find this way to, when I'm not wrapping the entire piece of paper around, to be the least painful way to go about getting a nice looking edge. Now the corners aren't completely wrapped, so if that kind of thing concerns you, well, use the method of your choice to get this accomplished. So now we have both our back and our front done. I have them oriented on my table so that the 7.5 inch dimension is up and down. And so I'm ready to put the paper that I'm going to use for the outside of the front and back covers on. So I've decided that on the front cover I'll use the Secret Garden feature paper from the 8x8 pad, and I've cut this. I wanted to have a little bit of a green reveal on this black background. It's hard to see, but I do have a green reveal going on. Let me get something to put behind here. There, now you can see this better. It's hard to say. Sometimes, when I'm working on something, the black background is better, and sometimes my other cutting mat background is better. So here's a compromise. Alright, so we've cut this 7 3/8 inch tall by 7 5/8 inches wide. And that gives, as you can see, a nice little reveal going around the edges. So I've already prepped this with some score tape on the back, so let me remove the backing here. And then just so it doesn't move around a whole lot, I'm just going to put a little glue stick in the center of the Now, I don't know if my head will get in the way. I need to make sure I get this on here. It looks pretty good. Give that a little burnish. So there's our front cover. I'm back. I've completed putting the pattern paper on both my front and back covers, and now we're ready to add the covers to the book. So here's the book in the last way we left it. Now, sometimes when people put star books together, they put a piece of ribbon behind the back cover so that will come around and tie to hold it together. But I'm going to use a belly band on this one, so I don't have to think. I can just add my covers without doing anything else. Now, one thing I do want to do, remember these little tabs that we had on the covers. We did cut the back edges at an angle, but I want to cut these front ones just at a little bit of an angle so they won't show. Okay. And then we can stick those down. Now let me make sure I have the book oriented correctly, and of course I had it upside down. Alright, so now I'm looking at the front. I've got the front here, and the front cover is going to attach directly and completely to that green panel there. So and the same thing for the back. So I'm going to put some score tape and get prepared to do that, and then I'll be back to actually do that with you. So I've prepped both of my covers with score tape. I've held it back a little bit from the edge. I think you can see a little bit of the green showing here. Just in case everything isn't exactly the same size, I won't have to worry about any adhesive overhanging the edges. And I also put a couple of strips in the middle just to give some added security. And so I did that on both my front and back cover. And on the front cover, I've already removed the backing so that we can proceed with adding that on. So let me just double check that I've got the book oriented correctly, and I do. And now I want to line up I think it'd be easiest, I'm working kind of upside down here. I'm lining up that edge of the first panel with the edge of the cover here. I've just got it kind of lightly pressed there to begin with. Then if everything is in alignment, this should come nicely down. And I think that's it. So we can reach in between. I'm reaching in right in the back of the cover here so that I'll be able to come in here and burnish that and get it securely on. So let me put the back cover on and then we'll be back to give it a look. So here's our completed book, and because of the way we constructed it, we can either open it up if we had a lot of room and put it out as a large accordion book, or the way I designed it to be is a star book, and you can open up the stars to be as big as you want. And it's, you know, it's obviously kind of large when it's displayed, but it's certainly a feature thing to have in your house. Now I thought about, did I need magnets or anything to hold it together, and as you can see, no, it's sitting there very nicely. So there's the book all put together.